This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Mark Sale, the CEO of First Class Metals, following news from exploration from their McKellar and Magical properties during the 2022 field season. So thank you very much for joining us today. Mark, how are you doing?
Thank you, Mark. Yes, good. Feeling enthusiastic and full of expectations for the upcoming field season.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll get on to those questions in a moment. I do have quite a few, so if you can keep your answers fairly succinct, that will help us to get through in a timely manner. Now, as I understand from some of the recent news, the work predominantly has been on the McKellar Trend and the nearby Alv occurrences, as well as initial work on the rare earth elements as well. So what significant findings have been uncovered in the 2022 field season, and how do they impact the potential there for VMS-style mineralization and rare earth elements?
Okay, well, let's take the two separately. We'll look at the VMS style first, which is at this stage confined, shall we say, to the McKellar Trend. Yeah. And we're calling it a VMS style mineralization, partly because of the polymetallic results that we're getting, the high zinc, copper, lead, but also, and silver, let's not forget the silver, but also because it's potentially concordant, it's on a contact, but that contact might be sheared. But realistically, Noranda, who are very experienced with the VMS exploration, they did some early work there and they were associating it with VMS. So until we have evidence to disprove that theory, that's the way we're going. There's still a lot more work to do, I have to say, before I would be confident in actually hanging my hat on VMS, but that's the way we're going at the moment.
Okay. And on the rare earth element side of it then?
Yes, well, there was quite a bit of work done in the 90s, and they came up with some very anomalous results. One would almost say significantly anomalous. When we went back in there, and it was just a couple of days doing some sampling, we weren't able to find the original sample points, and there was a lot of overgrowth. The guys obviously did get to the diatreme, they did sample it, and the results are anomalous. They're not as significantly anomalous as the historic ones. So the historic ones still have to be validated. I'm not doubting them, but we will go back there this year with a more systematic, hopefully with a permit, so we could possibly do some stripping, even hand stripping, so we can do some channel sampling and try and literally uncover the outcrop in order to get some realistic samples. But yes, there's enough encouragement there, which is what exploration is all about, enough encouragement for us to want to go back and do more work on the rare earths.
Okay, excellent. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit more on the significance of the McKellar showing, as you refer to it as, and how it supports the VMS conceptual trend, and also what work you will do to further investigate the potential for VMS.
Well, we will go back there and we'll do some more mapping and sampling, obviously. Ideally, what we want to do is some stripping, but any work drilling in the McKellar area of the McKellar on the McKellar property in the area of the McKellar Trend will be helicopter supported. So it's unlikely that we'd be able to do any sort of wide scale stripping, possibly hand stripping. But what we want to do is try and identify, is the mineralization concordant? In other words, sit between rock layers, horizons, or is it structurally controlled, i.e. in a shear? Now, just because it's structurally controlled, not concordant, it doesn't necessarily decry the VMS style, because quite often VMS are fed through structurally controlled feeders. So the high zinc could be in shears, could be in fractures, feeding a VMS that we haven't yet got to. So it's about geology, it's about structure. We've got enough to be really encouraged. I mean, we didn't replicate all the historic values. Like, we didn't get the 30-ounce silver values that were reported by Noranda, but certainly we got multi-ounce silver values in our sampling. and several percent of zinc, good copper and lead. So as far as the geochemistry supporting of EMS, it's there. Structurally and geologically, we still have to do more work.
Okay. Well, let's move on to talk about magical then. And let me ask you how the anomalous molybdenum and arsenic discovered at the magical property support the potential for gold mineralization. And again, what further work is planned to explore that potential?
I won't say magical's conceptual, because we do have the anomalous MMI samples, as you said, in moly and arsenic, which are classic pathfinder elements. And also to the northeast is the Valley Float, 16 gram. And then we have to the southwest other gold and base metal occurrences, which seem to be along the contact of the Pluton. Now, that contact, variously sheared from what we have seen, is that same sheared structure that loops northwards in an arcuate fashion and goes through our North Hemlo block. And again, it's one of the three mimicking shear structures above the Hemlo gold mine. So there's a lot pointing to the potential for magical, even though it's very early days. So what will we do? We'll go back in there and we'll do some more soil sampling lines to try and tie down that contact. That's the important thing. The contact is where the anomalism will be. Hopefully we can pick up a few kicks in the gold as well. But obviously the important thing is the pathfinders, the moly, which is strongly associated with Hemlo, gold, shear. So we're starting to get the ingredients of something quite interesting there, even though it's very early stage.
Okay, good to hear. So are there any other remaining results to come from any of the properties from the 2022 field season?
There are results still to come. Actually, there's results. Freudian, you're absolutely right as well. We still have results to be published by Palladium 1 on West Pickle Lake. So there are some real results from last year field season and early 2023. But as far as we're concerned, the last lot of results that we're still waiting for, you might recall we did a number of soil lines across the shear on the Essa block. And this is another one of these arcuate Hemlo mimicking shears. So we did quite a lot of soils on there. We had some early anomalism, again in moly and some of the other pathfinding elements. So we're waiting for those. And that shear also was one highlighted by the reinterpretation of the magnetic survey. So yes, there's still I'm hoping a little bit more excitement to come as far as last year's results are concerned.
Okay.
And we haven't really stopped, to be honest, Mark, because the guys have been out since Christmas, starting in the new year, on North Hemlo. They're now on Essa doing lake sediment sampling. They go out onto the ice, obviously, check the ice to make sure it's thick enough, on skidoos or on snowshoes. Then they bore through the ice, and then they drop this very heavy metal-like torpedo on rope, which goes down through the water quickly, embeds itself in the slurry at the bottom of the lake. They drag it out, put it in a bag. So we've taken quite a number of lake sediment samples on North Hemlo, and we were encouraged by last year. We got some quite good anomalies from one of the lakes. So we've been working around that, and we've extended the program to Essa. And then we will also do Enable and Cocoa to finish it off. So we're still working, in effect. And I'll throw this in as well, just because other people have asked me. We haven't yet concluded the deep dive on the historical data on Sunbeam. That's still ongoing. But yeah, even though it's cold, it's wintry, and there's not a lot of real field activity out there, First Class is still pushing back the frontiers.
Okay, well, we're talking a lot about, of course, last year's field season and the results there encouraging and confirming that more work is required. And you were quoted from the RNS recently saying, "I feel confident that FCM has started the 2023 season with significant impetus." So can I ask you, what are the proposed exploration plans for 2023, including work on the diatreme and other areas identified in the historical data review?
Certainly, more than pleased to elucidate on that one. Obviously, as I've said, McKellar, both the McKellar Trend and the diatreme. We'll wait on the soil results for Essa. That might require further work. I hope it requires further follow-up work. But I think the real goal for FCM this year, this field season, is drilling. We had a very successful reconnaissance, exploration, prospecting season last year. It's given us the wherewithal and the encouragement to go back. So now we need to actually identify drill targets. We have drill targets in as much as I can say the Dead Otter Lake Trend is a drill target, but now we actually have to tie that down to where you'd put a wooden stake in the ground. That's what I mean by identified drill targets, not the conceptual where shall we drill. This is can we drill at that coordinate. But drilling will be the main aim for us. As you are aware, we have a drill permit on Sunbeam, which would allow us to go in there and do some drilling. However, I don't want to do any drilling on Sunbeam until we've done the historical review and some follow-up groundwork, because several people who have had Sunbeam in the past, they've gone in there thinking that they can just drill a few holes, get spectacular results and build off that. And mostly they haven't. There are spectacular results at Sunbeam. It was a phenomenally productive, rich, productive gold mine in its day, but I don't want to repeat what other people have done. So we will be slowly catching monkey on Sunbeam, but very disappointed if we're not drilling on Sunbeam this year. Likewise, we are, only the other day, I was in email contact with the First Nations for the exploration permits on North Hemlo and Essa. So we're progressing those as well. So yes, further reconnaissance on Essa, on North Hemlo, on Enable, on Magical, on McKellar, but with the objective, realistically, of drilling on at least one of our property blocks this year.
Okay, excellent. So a very active upcoming field season, which will hopefully involve drilling as well. That's good to hear, Mark. Look forward to seeing how that goes. Just a final question. PDAC is upon us. I believe you're heading out there. What are your main objectives really for heading out there, apart from getting a vibe and a feel for appetite for investing in mining and exploration?
It's multi-layered, shall we say, my objective. I want to go out there and meet some of our peers who I've communicated with but haven't actually met face to face. I want to talk with some of the larger exploration companies and see if they might have some interest down the track, as you'd say, when we have value added a little bit more to us. I know some of them are already watching us, so we want to maintain that. Yes, I will be meeting with potential investors as well as other interested parties. We're applying for the Ontario Junior Explorers Grant again this year, so I'll be meeting with some of the bureaucrats. And not least of all, but last, I also want to make contact with some of the First Nations and talk with them face to face. So a pretty full schedule over the 3 days, and yes, pound the Isles and look at some of our, as I say, peers, but also, let's be honest, competitors, because it's a competitive market out there.
Well, if you do find yourself with a few moments to record a quick video or jump on for a quick interview, give us an idea of what the feel is like from the floor, from the exhibition floor, then I look forward and hopefully we can do that. But for now, thank you very much, Mark Sale, the CEO of First Class Metals.
Mark, take care.
Excellent.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.